and welcome to Home Abroad. My name is Femi Odere. I'm your host. The term failed state is often used by political commentators and journalists to describe a state perceived as having failed at some of the basic conditions and responsibilities of a sovereign government. Even though there is no clear universal definition of a failed state, but there is probably a few countries that has already failed. An example of a failed state that readily comes to mind is Somalia in the Horn of Africa, where there's practically no government. There are social, economic, and political yardsticks that are used to measure when a country has become a failed state. According to Wikipedia, some countries have consistently met just about all the requirements of a failed state, and these countries are considered the worst 20 states in the world. Nigeria, which is known as the giant of Africa, has been on this list of the worst 20 states since 2007. You just cannot help but wonder why a country that is so rich in human capital resource, natural and mineral resource endowment, be on this list. It is the fifth largest producer of crude oil, which is a huge income earner. Nigeria may very well be a classic example of how a country can be so rich and yet remain very poor. I have a group of respected Nigerians here with me to talk about whether or not Nigeria is a failed state. On my right is Dr. Kenua Obaseki. Dr. Obaseki is a founding member of Edo National Association in the United States. He's also a founding member of Edo Heritage Association of Michigan. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Next is Kusemerosi Udo. Ms. Udo is an electronic engineer by training with many years of experience in project management in both the private sector and government. Ms. Udo participates in Chicago area politics. She was a former Adamani candidate in the city of Waukegan here in Illinois. She was also a former vice chairman of the Waukegan Democratic Party. Ms. Udo is currently the president and CEO of a health food business. Welcome to the program, Ms. Udo.
Thank you.
Last but not the least is Mr. Felix Ugbebo. Mr. Ugbebo is a global trade consultant. Mr. Ugbebo is the president and CEO of FICO Global, Inc., and is a former secretary of the USA wing of the ruling People's Democratic Party in Nigeria. Welcome to the program, Mr.
Thank
Ugbebo.
you.
Gentlemen, you've had the intro. Is Nigeria a failed state? Is it failing? Is it going to fail? Is it about to fail? What do you think?
Definitely, Nigeria is not yet a failed state,
But it's about to fail.
but
Is that what you're saying?
very frightening. We're moving towards a failed state. And if we do not get our acts together, it might fail. The recent few weeks, what happened over these few weeks have really frightened all Nigerians. And I hope our leaders get their acts together and bring the country back to focus.
So in other words, you don't believe Nigeria is a failed state yet.
It's not
but
a
you're
failed
saying that with the trend of things that are going, it might be a failed state.
Might be a
so
failed
what are those trends of things that might potentially make it to become a failed state?
Well, the ethnic dimension is getting into Nigeria politics. The North and South divide, people are trying to use that. For example, Yaradua is being kicked out of office with the replacement of a candidate, Jonathan from the Niger Delta. The Northerners are not happy, whether we like it or not. What the president has done in most developed nations is amounting to treason, amounts to treason.
Ms. Udo, it looks like you're itchy to say something. What do you?
Yes,
what's your take?
I like your introduction because there's no clear definition of a failed state. So if there's no clear definition of a failed state, why would anybody say Nigeria is a failed state? I can relate to what Noam Chomsky said, that his definition of a failed state, that a failed state is a state whose central government is so weak, ineffective, and it has little control over its territory. Nigeria hasn't gotten to that stage yet.
Yeah, but even though there's no clear definition, though, but let me read something to you here, if you don't mind. Let's take the political indicators, for example. They say for you to fall to this category, there will be a criminalization or delegitimization of that state. That is one. There will be a progressive deterioration of public services. That is another one. There will be a widespread violation of human rights. Even if you pick those three things, can you not say Nigeria hasn't fallen?
No, then the whole world, so many countries in the world would fit that definition. No, Nigeria is not a failed state. It can. It's not a failed state.
Towards a failed state.
To me, it's not. If you read about what is going on in other countries, I come to a conclusion that Nigeria is far from being a failed state.
So that was if a country is grossly violating human rights,
Exactly.
it's okay. If a country's public services are progressively deteriorating, that is fine as well. Is that what you're saying? Looks like Mr. Gogo wants to say something to that too.
Well, I tend to agree with Rosie that Nigeria is not, and Dr. Kanoa, Nigeria is not a failed state. And again,
Looks like I'm the only guy.
Nigeria is not yet. We still have a functioning government.
We still have a functioning government.
We still deliver services. And yes, the better term that maybe, you know, I don't even see human rights abuses compared to many even developed world in Nigeria. I mean, there are instances where people's rights may be violated, but it's not something sanctioned by the government. And I think the government actually crack down when their agents do violate individual rights. A case in point, there was a recent public march over one of the cases that was filed by one of the prominent lawyers, Falana, where Soyinka traveled to Nigeria to lead a march and protest against the president's absence from office. There were no official, disruptions. No, they were allowed to exercise their.
That was just one instance in so many other instances there were official disruption of public protest, though.
Well, I can't recall any. I mean, there are instances where a policeman may individually violate his professional obligations to do certain things.
And when that policeman violates, he doesn't get punished.
They do get punished. I mean, they do get punished. I mean,
maybe you are seeing it differently than I'm seeing it.
Yeah, definitely. I think I am. I see hope in that country. I see development. Yes, we have some shortcomings, but this is a country with multi-ethnic groups, and we are able to carry forward every time there is a perception that the country is disintegrating. And what just transpired that Dr. Kanoa referred to is a learning process in a democracy. And of course, one can have all kinds of arguments regarding that. But I think Nigeria is not a failed state by that definition.